Here we are back for another Money Matrix podcast. Our main man is not here today, so good morning, Vietnam. Welcome to the Money Matrix podcast, where smart money finds a smarter way. I am one of your hosts, Jason Mantione, and I am here with my main man.
That's right. I'm Alan Hastings. I got to say, your good morning noms are getting fantastic.
Thank you. They're better. We don't have to tell him. It's okay.
If he watches this episode later, he'll know.
We've been talking today back and forth, and a lot of the topic has been the housing prices in Florida. We're going to talk about Florida and Florida in specific today. Florida purchase prices of homes are coming down, and when that happens, it's a domino effect. The inventory is on the rise. We're going to talk about how it is a great time to get in Florida and what you can do and how you can do it. Remember when you couldn't buy a house in Florida without getting into a bidding war? When people were waiving inspections, paying $50,000 over asking price? Well, those days are officially over. Today, we're diving into the dramatic shift happening in Florida's housing market right now. Prices are dropping, inventory is exploding, and for the first time in years, buyers actually have options. It's just been crazy because I'll tell you, me personally, I bought my house in Florida 3 years ago, and it was so crazy that we didn't even have time to get on the plane and come down because as soon as they were hitting the market, they were gone. And we have a life. I have a wife, 2 kids, running a business. I can't just go to Florida for a week and sit around and wait for houses to come out. So we had my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law. We found houses. They were going around. Long story short, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were driving around and FaceTiming us. We bought our home on FaceTime.
Crazy.
That was nuts. I'm definitely living proof. Welcome back to the Florida Housing Realty. If you've been following the market for the past few years, it's been absolutely wild. Pandemic buyers, remote workers flooding in, investors snapping up everything. It felt like the party would never end. But guess what? The music has stopped, and we are seeing the biggest shift in Florida real estate since the Great Recession. So grab your coffee, buckle up, and let's dive into what's really happening with Florida housing costs and the inventory right now. We got some numbers, and we got to kick it over to my numbers guy.
That's right. That's me, numbers guy, resident numbers man here. We love to dig into the specifics here, and the 3 out of 4 of the members of the podcast, Maya, Ron, and yourself, all live in Florida and have for years. You were there when times are the hardest.
Oh, yeah.
As of May 2025, home prices in Florida are down 1.9% year over year. This is the first sustained price decline since before the pandemic. That's 5-6 years, right? So the median home price is sitting around $412,600 right now, and Gulf Coast areas are seeing price drops of 5 to 7% for single family homes, with condos getting hit even harder. Active inventory has increased by 28.8% year over year. Nearly 30% more homes on the market than last year. So what does that mean in practical terms? It means we're sitting on about 6 months of housing supply statewide. And to put that into perspective, anything over 6 months is considered a buyer's market nationwide. If you have 6 months of housing supply, you are now in a position where the buyers hold the authority in the transaction. You're going to see seller concessions. You're going to see price negotiation. You're going to see tracks that go on for longer. They're looking at 9.7 to 10.1 months of supply. If you're looking for a condo in Florida, now is the first time you can say since the pandemic, it is a buyer's market. We've been in a situation in Florida where all of the different states in the country were flooding to Florida for work, or if they weren't moving there, buying properties specifically to rent out. Investment property purchases in Florida were one of our main sources of business for the last 3 to 4 years. And I'm curious because you guys are there all the time. I'm on the webcam right now, but you live in it. Why do you think this is happening, Jason?
So the big question is, why now? What changed? Well, there are really 5 major factors at play here, and understanding them helps explain not just where we are, but where we're headed. That's the big question. Where are we headed? What's news? News is something that just happened. Breaking news. Get out our crystal ball and see what's inside. And we're telling people what's happening now because this is what the future is holding. We put so much time and effort into this because we're trying to make sure that nobody that listens to us, any of our clients, miss the boat ever again. With that being said, factor number 1, post-pandemic correction. Remember all those remote workers, the early retirees who flooded into Florida from 2020 to 22. One of them, that wave was basically stopped. The work from anywhere crowd has settled, and we're not seeing that massive influx of new residents anymore. The pandemic-driven demand surge that pushed prices up 40 to 50% in some areas is now reversing as migration patterns normalize. Number 2, climate risk is finally hitting home. Rising insurance costs and hurricane risk are no longer just background concerns. They're front and center in buyer decisions. Properties in hurricane-prone areas are seeing the steepest price price declines because buyers are getting smarter about risk and insurance premiums keep climbing. I was talking to a real estate agent in Tampa last week. She told me she's had multiple buyers walk away from deals once they got the insurance quotes. We're talking about $15,000 a year for homeowners insurance. That changes your monthly payment significantly. That takes you from having a budget and just forget about going over, but budget is gone. It's blown.
At $15,000 a year, you're over $1,000 a month in just insurance.
In Florida, this is an HOA state. Very few areas don't have an HOA, and the ones that don't, you don't want to live in, to be honest with you.
Those HOA fees are high because they have to pay for their insurance too.
If you buy a single family home, private dwelling, detached, it could be anywhere from $50 to $600. You get into those condos, $1,000 a month for a 1,000 square foot condo. The HOA, the insurance, it definitely takes care of that budget. Number 3, the investors pullback. This is huge. The institutional investors and house flipping companies that drove so much of the buying frenzy, they're pulling out of Florida market. When you remove the institutional money, we're removing a lot of the competition that was driving up prices. Number 4, affordability constraints. Even with these recent price drops, many Florida markets are still unaffordable for people who actually work there. The home affordability index decreased, which means that despite lower prices, financing costs and overall affordability remain challenging for regular families. And last but not least, the simple market rebalancing. Florida housing market is transitioning from extreme seller advantage to buyer-friendly conditions. After years of sellers calling the shots, buyers finally have options and negotiating power again.
All the things you're talking about make a lot of sense when you think about the regions in Florida that are being hit the most hard. Gulf Coast markets where hurricanes and, flooding are real concerns. That's where insurance rates have risen the most. So Fort Myers, Naples, Sarasota, those kinds of places, they're getting the dramatic price increases on insurance, the dramatic price decreases on property values. So those are experiencing the steepest corrections. And condo markets, for exactly the reasons you're saying, HOAs. The properties we finance in Florida within 10 miles of the coast, now we have to have structural inspection reports within X amount of years. There's all kinds of crazy restrictions. A lot of investors we've been talking to, Wall Street investors, are now putting LTV restrictions on top of regular LTV restrictions, like a statewide cap on just specifically Florida. And it's because everybody is aware those specific markets inflated massively. And now that what you're saying is true, the rush is slowing down. They don't want to get caught holding negative equity in a home, right?
Absolutely.
So tourists too, like people who just visit. Those tourist heavy markets, we're talking near Miami, places where people like to go on vacation. Those are showing really dramatic shifts as well. Because places like the Keys, beach towns, the Panhandle, Orlando area, those vacation rental markets are affected heavily by the fact that no longer will those properties debt service. If the price of managing and maintaining that home isn't supported because the price of rent is going down, people are less likely to visit, how are you going to convince an investor to take on that risk? Is there anywhere that you know of where things aren't so doom and gloom? Is there anything positive that we can say?
Listen, it's not all doom and gloom everywhere. Tampa and Miami are still showing some price growth in certain segments, particularly the well-located primary residence. Northeast Florida markets are seeing more moderate adjustments. Markets where people actually live and work are holding up better than the purely spec vacation rentals. So like just what you said, like the Keys, Orlando area, Melbourne's becoming a big vacation spot, Daytona, which definitely that lasted the test of time. So there's areas that, are doing better than others. I live in Palm Beach County. Palm Beach County, very busy. They keep building downtown Palm Beach up and up. We were down there, me and my son, 2 weeks ago, and there's literally 5 skyscrapers going up at once. So people are moving here, businesses are moving here. So, definitely in more populated areas, you're not seeing it. So listen, and this is just my opinion, those vacation spots are going to come back. It's Florida. Florida is Florida.
For sure.
You can grab an area and these hot spots that are big vacation areas, the Keys, especially Orlando, any of these areas, I think they're going to bounce back in a big way. When it goes down and comes back up, everybody's been home, hasn't been spending money for so long. What's the first thing they do? Let's go on vacation. Let's get the kids out of here. So what does this mean if you're trying to buy and sell or own a home in Florida right now? If you're a buyer, Alan, what are you thinking if you're coming here?
I've been dealing quite a few recently. The transactions I've been dealing with are foreign nationals buying in Florida. And I know that I've got a group of investors who are extremely happy with the way things are going. If you're a buyer, this is great news. All the things that we're saying is fantastic. You have increased negotiating power. You have extra inventory. You can pick of the litter on your house. You don't get to show up and try try to FaceTime your way to get the first available house, you can afford to wait a week or two before I make my decision. We got a buyer in Orlando last month who got the seller to pay closing costs and knocked $15,000 off the purchase price.
Wow.
So what about sellers? Do you have anybody you know in the selling game right now?
Not really that many, because I think they're sitting tight right now. It's going to take a minute for it to sink in, and then they're going to start selling because they're in that mode right now. Do you think it's going to stop? Do you think it's going to go back? What's going to happen? If you're a seller, welcome to reality. Your home is going to sit on the market longer. That's the new normal. Price adjustments are going to be becoming necessary to complete. The days of listing high and getting multiple offers over asking are over for most properties. You need to price it right from the start, which is very important. When I go online and I'm looking, because I'm always looking, whether I want to buy or I don't, that house that's been on the market that started at X and went to Y and is now at Z, me being in the construction industry, my first thing is something's wrong with the inspection report. Something came back, whacked out. Know your property. If you haven't been doing anything to the property for 10 years, you're on your own. But if you're maintaining your property the right way, you know what it's got, what it needs, if it needs anything. So definitely know what you're selling and price it. Setting the bar is not, the bar is gone. There is no bar. Just get in line. If you have to sell, you sell. If you don't have to sell, then you don't have to sell. It's definitely a buyer's market right now, unfortunately. It's been a seller's market, and we've been helping everybody with selling.
It's fortunate for some, for sure.
So basically, looking ahead, what can we give our listeners as far as advice?
I think that just like we saw our investors for the last few months start to taper their expectations of Florida, we should start to see the regular population, the average investor, start to slow down for the next couple of months. I think that we can expect inventory to increase another 15% throughout the remainder of 2025. I think price stabilization is likely in most markets. It's okay that this is happening because so many things are cyclical. If you use this opportunity to get in, the bounce back is going to be massive. We know that it will. So medium term, in 2 to maybe 3 years, we'll probably look at that market rebalancing towards sustainable price to income ratios. We're going to see more primary residence purchases, less investment properties. Then there's going to be the recovery. We've already talked about how the job growth that we expect on the coasts will be pretty big. We've already talked about how people are going to be moving to these population centers. Do I expect this to be a long-term problem? No. 2 to 3 years, I expect strong recovery in the housing prices. We're going to see job growth in Florida. We're going to see people moving there again. And the people who bought on this dip are going to be reaping the rewards probably by 2028 at the latest. That's my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't see this as a long-term thing.
No, definitely don't see it as a long-term thing. I would say this is just some analysts that I have been listening to in the past week since the primaries actually happened in New York. I don't know if you know this or not. I know it's definitely a hot topic over there, but they are talking about a massive influx of people coming to Florida if the new mayor that is running wins. It'd be shorter term than we thought. Listen, this is what they're saying. These are the same people I listen to and read about with analytics as far as the pandemic. So you might have a major influx of people coming to Florida. That's what they're saying. You got a lot of people that what the new mayor is proposing, but you got a lot that don't. Like we were talking about yesterday with the landlords. Those are the ones that are going to want to buy somewhere else. And those are the people that are going to buy up the.
Sure. So you expect that in the next 1 year, maybe less, or how does that look?
The elections in November, mayoral elections in November, all in November. I expect it after the new year, like February, March, April. A lot of people go that the kids dictate our lives in more ways than one, and you're not going to rip your kid out of school mid-year unless you have to. So I would say, yeah, probably by February, March, if it's going to happen, that's when it would start happening. I think you would see it. I don't know if Brad O'Connor, he's the chief economist at Florida Realtors, and I'm just quoting here. Housing inventory in Florida real estate market increased through 2024 to make prices fall, and that trend could continue into 2025. Some market analysts are suggesting we could see a 4 to 6% year-over-year increase in median home prices by the end of the year. Though this varies significantly by region and property type, Texas is number 2 on the chart as far as prices dropping and inventory rising. But Florida was much more than Texas. Even though Texas was second, it was maybe 40% more in Florida. I know we keep saying this is the time to buy, this is the time to buy, this is the time to buy. This is the time to buy. So that's my crowd cheering for me over here.
I love it.
Yeah, I feel that I'm seeing it a lot. Where I live in Palm Beach, we're always looking. I'll tell you, I've seen houses coming down. There's a brand new development development that is still being built not far from where I live. Now, these homes you're talking about a 3,600 square foot home, beautiful home, 5-6 bedroom, 4.5 bath, nice piece of property. The community is gorgeous. Went to the pool and, this legit, you were at a resort. I couldn't even, it was just amazing how beautiful it was. These houses were selling brand new for $900,000. Really not a bad price. Zoned in the same school district I'm in, which is a really good school district. You can buy that same house. They're selling right now for $9,920. That same house that's 2 years old, you can buy for $700,000 right now. That's what I'm seeing. Yep. I don't need brand new for $200,000 more. So I'm seeing it happen in front of me. What's not good for me is if I want to sell my house, I'm going to take the beating there and then get a deal somewhere else. Now in Florida, if you do plan on moving, keep your asset, rent it out, and buy your other asset at the purchase price being lower, wait for the market to bounce back, which they always do bounce back, and then figure out what you're going to do. If you're going to keep it, if you're going to sell it, but that's the ideal thing to do. So if you're that type of investor, if you can keep that one asset right now and rent it and get that other one, that's my advice to my personal clients. And a couple of them are most likely that's what they're going to do. If you got equity in that asset that you have, pull some money out to buy that other property, because you're not going to see this in Florida. This is not going to happen. People are still going to come here. My famous saying, I live where you vacation. You live in California. People are definitely going to come back as far as buying and moving here and all that good stuff. So basically, I want to leave you with some perspective from the experts I've been talking to. The consensus seems to be that this correction was both inevitable and necessary for long-term market health. I was listening to the news. Just a quote, one economist said Florida's market got so disconnected from local fundamentals that a correction was mathematically certain. The question was never if, but when and how severe. So that was the thing. A longtime Florida realtor put it this way: we're finally getting back to a market where normal people can participate. The speculation and investors' frenzy created an artificial market that wasn't sustainable. What do you feel about the Florida housing market being normal again? What's your take on that?
I think it was bound to happen. Any kind of super bubble like we had in Florida was ready to pop at some point, but everything is perspective, right? If you look at the housing market in Florida, it's either, oh no, my property value could be going down. It's like a stock. You don't buy a stock to watch it daily. You buy a stock to hold on to it for a year, 2 years, 3 years. You let things appreciate. So if you're a homeowner now, you're clearly not on the seller side. You're not trying to sell at a loss. But if you're a buyer, or if you have capital to invest, this is the dip. Get in while it's low, because there are 4 states that I would say in the entire country that you can gamble on and never fail. And that's Florida, New York, California, and Texas.
Yeah, you're right.
But maybe take Texas out and say North Carolina or South Carolina. But all I'm saying is you buy a Florida property, you let it appreciate, and you use that equity over time.
Absolutely.
And I think now's your chance to get in and own a Florida property.
So that's our deep dive into Florida's housing market correction. Remember, if you're thinking about buying or selling in this market, timing and strategy matter more than ever. Do your research, understand your local market, and don't make assumptions based on what happened in 21 and 22. We're tracking these trends closely. We're going to bring it to you live every day. Anything that we can do to help our clients in this crazy housing market right now, we're going to bring you the best information that we can in order for you to make some money. Smart money finds a smarter way. Never forget that. I want everybody to have a great weekend. Enjoy. Have fun with the family. Barbecue. Do whatever you got to do. Many blessings to all. Alan, it's always a pleasure rocking it with you in the podcast studio.
Can't wait till I'm back there with you.
Yes, sir. All right. Everybody, have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.